started investing and what excites you about cryptocurrency?
Hi, this is Chichi. I'm the partner at Hack VC. So sure, more about my background. I used to, I entered the space since 2017, so quite early, but maybe there are a few are earlier even. And I started at this family office in Hong Kong and then started to invest in crypto pretty early on. And then I started my own startup in Shanghai. It was food tech. It was nothing related to crypto, but I should have, keep working on crypto. But that was a really good experience to be a founder, to really learn about what kind of quality, what kind of thing, like how to really like make a founder successful. That was a whole different topic, and I feel like that was a really good chance for me to come back to to know more about founders and to be able to come back to be a VC and then still to feel more connected with founders. And then I joined Hack VC for a little bit over a year now, and it's a really good journey because I was more like in the Asia side, but now I understand the Western VCs and how do they think of, founders, the whole industry, and how to really to understand the gap between between Asia and the West. But I'm pretty sure because Ed is a really, really successful entrepreneur himself. He understands not only founders, and also he understands he knows a lot about VCs. He started 3 startups himself in the US, and he sold 3 of the business. That was really, I guess, a lot of founders to want to talk to us, not only to get the money, but really just to be able to learn from Ed, just to get advice, just to to learn from him. And then also he wrote a book about Java, Java the programming language, and that was really really selling a lot, and you can still find it on Amazon and different places.
Well, let's be fair here, Chichi. So the book I wrote on Java programming, I actually wrote 25 years ago, and it's now ancient technology. Nobody uses it anymore. At the time, it was important, because back then, Java was a brand new programming language, and it was replacing systems like COBOL. Anyone heard of COBOL before? It's an ancient language. It's actually kind of funny today. If you're a programmer today and you know the COBOL programming language, you're probably making a 6-figure salary, because you are irreplaceable within your organization, because very few people in the world actually know that language these days. So back when I started programming, that was kind of like the new hot technology. And it's funny because I did write a book on Java, and back then it was important. But then after that, I stopped programming for several years. And who here in the audience is a programmer, by the way? Raise your hand if you're a software developer. Yep, so quite a few. Yep. So as you know, as a programmer, your skills actually atrophy as a software developer if you don't write software recently. That's the curse of being a programmer, is that you become a crappy programmer the longer you do not write software. So that actually happened to me. So for a while I was running a startup, and we had some success as that startup, but I lost my skills as a programmer. So I decided I wanted to learn some of the new programming languages. And back then the languages were Node.js, Ruby on Rails, languages like that. And I actually struggled. Like for me, those were complicated topics for me to grasp as a software developer. So I decided I needed someone to mentor me, like someone to help me learn these new languages. And I didn't have anyone to help me because I was by myself in San Francisco. I didn't have any software developers. I was new to the ecosystem, didn't have folks around me who could help me. So that was actually when I had an idea for my second startup, which was a marketplace for software developers to mentor each other. So imagine a world where if you're programming, let's say you're programming on Solidity or Rust, if you're on Solana, and you're struggling with your code, and you can't figure out where the bug is in your programming code. Imagine if you could click a button, and another programmer comes to your rescue and saves you magically from your programming problem. That's kind of what we created here. It was like a marketplace for software developers to help each other in real time. And the beauty of this is that if you're a programmer, you can actually make money on this. You can actually earn a living by mentoring other software developers in real time. You're not going to make a lot of money. You'll make maybe like $50 an hour, something like that. But you're giving back and you're helping other software developers around the world. So that's kind of like what we're about at Hack VC, is we're all about how do you have entrepreneurship where you're actually helping the world, making a difference for others, improving society, but also a sustainable business, something that you can actually make a living off of and actually have a career out of. And so that's what excites us about open source and Web3, is that it's a mechanism for developers around the world to create an actual business for themselves and to actually be in business for themselves without having to necessarily take a job at a corporation, a traditional kind of job. So we look at like these marketplaces for software developers as very similar to that. So, so that was actually my second startup. And then after that, we kind of realized that these software developers around the world needed a venue to connect and to actually interact. And that's where Hack Summit was born, actually. So Hack Summit was born by having those mentors around the world meet each other and help each other at these events that we hold worldwide. And so the very first Hack Summit we held 9 years ago was actually a virtual conference back then. So Hack Summit back then was not a physical event. This event that we're having today is kind of unique for us, actually. It's actually one of our first in-person physical conferences. We didn't start off that way. I don't know if you know that, Chichi, but we started off as a virtual event. And back in 2013, I don't know if you guys remember, raise your hands, but did anyone actually attend a virtual conference back in 2013? I see basically no hands being raised, right? And that's not a surprise because this was way before COVID. This is way before virtual events started to take off. Back then in 2013, the idea of a virtual conference was kind of silly. Like back then, people thought a virtual conference would be 3D avatars walking around the world and imitating what a real conference would be, where you had like a 3D trade show, a 3D exhibit booth. And that was like the early attempt at virtual conferences. And to be frank, they didn't really have product market fit. They weren't really exciting for the attendees. And a lot of them actually failed in the early days. So we thought about it and we looked at this and we said, what if we did something better? What if we created an event that was actually a reimagined virtual experience where instead of having a 3D avatars and a 3D exhibit booth and all this other stuff, imagine if you just communicated information. You were delivering a presentation, either in Keynote or PowerPoint. We had fireside chats online, and anyone could attend. So we did this experiment. We held a virtual conference in 2013. The event was completely for charity. We made no money on this conference. It was all just to help developers around the world. We had no idea how this event would do. And we were shocked at the results. We actually had 80,000 attendees join this event, which actually broke the record as the world's largest programmer conference and the world's largest virtual conference ever held on any subject matter at the time. And so this really gave us a lot of confidence that we could do these events in the future. So we held events in 2016, 2018, and 2018 was our very first blockchain event that united developers worldwide talking about cryptocurrencies. And then after 2018, you know what happened then? That's when COVID hit. And when COVID hit, everyone wanted to do virtual conferences. That's when virtual conferences started to explode. And we realized after that, ironically, that people got sick of virtual conferences because they really wanted to meet each other face to face. So we actually stopped doing virtual events after COVID, and we moved into physical events. And that kind of leads us to where we are today. So we're very excited for what we're doing today and creating today. And we really encourage you in the audience to network and to meet each other and to form new relationships, because part of the feedback we got from our early virtual events is that it lacked interaction. It lacked the opportunity for you to actually say hi and to meet new people and to form connections. You know, what you learn at an event like this is useful, but you can learn a lot of it also online by just reading, medium.com posts or watching videos or going to Twitter Spaces. But what you cannot do online is actually meet each other, exchange business cards, exchange Telegram information, and form those new relationships. So I hope all of you have some time today in between the sessions to mingle and to help form new connections, because you never know where these relationships will lead longer term in your careers.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And then, so that is why we have one panel today. It's about how when the West VCs and the Asian VCs, when they meet, and then what can you learn from them, and then what's the vision and how they understand the market differently. I'd love to learn more about the topics you mentioned in your opening keynote in the morning. You mentioned about different technologies and in different areas, including like Vietnam, and then including like why you like Move language and how you can use it even better to really change the industry. Can we learn more about?
Yeah, absolutely. So like, there's a few topics that I'm particularly passionate about that we haven't touched on yet that I think would be really interesting for us to have a conversation about. And the two ones that I'd like to talk about today is, one is, what is uniquely different about Web3 and cryptocurrencies that makes it powerful compared to building Web 2 systems? Because there's been a lot of, let's be fair here, there's been a lot of criticisms over the years about cryptocurrency projects being not very useful beyond use cases like trading, for example, or meme coins. And our industry gets a lot of criticism for that. I think it's actually very unjustified. And I actually have a defense to that I'd like to share with you today and to hear what you guys think about. So if you think about the idea of building a marketplace as a Web 2 business, a good example of this would be, for example, if you were to look at, raise your hand here, have you ever heard of the project called Helium before? Helium? Yeah, so a lot of you guys have, right? So for those of you who don't know, Helium is a DPIN, a decentralized physical infrastructure network for doing internet online and wireless access online, as well as cell phone access online. And so the way that the Helium network works is that you stand up these cell phone towers all over the country, and anyone can do this. So you can actually create your own little satellite receiver that you put in your home on your roof, and you're participating in this network. You're earning tokens by contributing to this wireless access system, this 5G network. And the irony of building a network like this is that the network is completely useless until there's enough of these little cell towers stood up all over the country. Because why would you ever switch off of your mobile phone provider to this new crazy idea of this decentralized network unless you have full coverage over all the geographies that you're going to go to? So this is basically the idea of like a chicken and the egg problem, where the network does not become valuable until you're at critical mass, until everyone is using your network. So what Helium came up with is, I thought this is a quite brilliant idea, is the idea of just subsidizing that supply side with their reserve tokens. So with Helium, if you ran one of these little Helium satellite stations in the early days, you actually got paid tokens by the treasury of Helium as a reward for running that antenna, basically. And so even though there were no customers of Helium in the early days, you still made money as an operator of those satellite towers, basically. The plan for Helium is that once demand kicks in, once they actually have critical mass, then instead of them subsidizing your costs, it's actually being paid for by real users of the Helium network. So that's like the brilliance of Web3, is that you can get investors excited about a vision, that project can be worth billions of dollars because of the future value of that project. Those billions of dollars of token values can be used to subsidize the supply side of that network until the demand kicks in. So we think that that paradigm can actually be repeated for other use cases as well, and you could not build a business like that in Web 2. So for example, if I were to try to build a competitor to AT&T Wireless or Sprint or Verizon, and I were to try to raise venture capital money for that, no VC would ever fund that. Because think about how much it would cost to stand up all those little cell phone towers all over the country, right? To build a network that would compete with some of the biggest wireless carriers in the world. Like that, it would be very expensive, undoable in Web 2. But we think Web 3 unlocks this idea because of the subsidization of the supply side that you can do with tokens. So, so this pattern we think can repeat itself for any network that requires critical mass. And it's one use case that we're particularly excited about, where it's a real use of cryptocurrency that is not just based on trading or meme coins, but actually creates real world value. Another example of a DPIN that we're pretty excited about is called the Glow network. And I'm sure almost none of you have heard of the Glow network before, but it's a brand new product and something that we're particularly excited about. The idea behind the Glow network is to actually use cryptocurrencies to help solve for climate change. So, Bitcoin has been notorious over the years for being a negative contributor towards climate change, right? Because all the Bitcoin mining, proof of work, wasted electricity, like the Bitcoin hash power approximates the size of a small country in terms of the amount of electrical waste that it creates. So we found a cryptocurrency project that reverses that problem and does it in a credible way where it actually is a venture class business. And it's called the Glow network. And the way the Glow network works is that you're actually incentivized through tokens to create a solar panel on your roof of your house, basically. So if you create that solar panel on your roof, they subsidize part of that cost with cryptocurrency tokens, which is very temporary, right? They're only temporarily subsidizing those costs. The long-term plan is that those solar panels generate what's called carbon credits. Carbon credits are purchased by large organizations like Microsoft, Shopify, organizations like that. And that becomes revenue to help you with your solar installation. So it's, again, a great use of cryptocurrency because you're temporarily subsidizing the network with your tokens and your investors. But long term, you're actually creating a balanced economy as being paid for by large organizations with carbon credits. So we think this is just the tip of the iceberg for cryptocurrency, and there's a lot of future directions you can go with this. The second topic that I'm excited about, and you're going to hear about this a lot tomorrow when Michael from ZeroG.ai delivers his presentation, is basically crypto and AI. So crypto AI is one of the hottest buzzword intersections right now in Web3, and deservedly so. I mean, if you look at NVIDIA, for example, NVIDIA's stock price on a single day earned $250 billion of market capitalization in a single day. It was the largest single day gain of any stock in the history of the stock market. And a lot of folks, when NVIDIA's stock price started going up, they questioned that. They thought, is this just a bubble? Are we in an AI bubble right now? Is this really deserved, right? But if you look at, for example, McKinsey projects there will be between 18 and 23 trillion dollars of GDP gain worldwide from AI over the coming years. 18 to 23 trillion dollars. So what does that number mean? Let's take that into retrospect. If you take a perspective on that number, the entire United Kingdom generates somewhere around $3 trillion in GDP per year. We're talking about 18 to 23 trillion coming from generative AI and machine learning over the coming years. So it's actually an order of magnitude larger than the United Kingdom in terms of its entire GDP gain. So that's a significant breakthrough. We think it's actually a once-in-a-lifetime kind of transformation in terms of technology. And we think cryptocurrency networks can actually power a lot of this. So at Hack VC, when we think about investing in AI, we actually think a lot about Web 2 AI use cases more than we think about Web 3 AI use cases. Because we think that AI has incredible product market fit right now within Web 2 customers. You look at like OpenAI, Anthropic, right? You look at all these large enterprises, these Fortune 500 companies. A lot of them are building on AI, and they're building their own models and tuning and performing inference on those models. And right now, they're using NVIDIA chips, and they're using Amazon Web Services, typically, to host that NVIDIA hardware. These chips are in incredible high demand right now. They're very expensive, and you have to get on a wait list to even acquire this hardware because there's such incredible demand for AI right now. So we actually think that Web 3 can help solve for this problem. So for example, we led a financing round into a company recently called IO.net. Anyone here heard of IO.net before? Raise your hand. Yep, several of you have. So IO.net is the first what we call GPU DPIN, a decentralized physical infrastructure network made up of GPUs. And the way that IO.net works is it taps into underutilized GPUs around the world that could be repurposed and harnessed for AI inference. For example, many of you know that Ethereum used to be proof of work and moved over to proof of stake over time. Well, back when Ethereum was proof of work, you needed a lot of compute power to actually run the Ethereum network. So what happened to all those machines? What happened to all those servers that used to be proof of work miners for Ethereum? Well, a lot of them right now are idle. And a lot of them have GPUs that are idle on those machines as well. And the same thing happened with Filecoin. A lot of Filecoin miners are idle as well. So imagine repurposing that hardware and making them available for performing AI inference. That's kind of the mission that IO.net is on right now. And they can actually save you up to 90% of your Amazon Web Services bill because they're tapping into this underutilized hardware. So think about 10 years ago when Uber came out, when Lyft came out. What was the vision back then for Uber and for Lyft? It was called collaborative consumption. Let's make better use of underlying assets, and let's reuse your apartment or your house for other people who are visiting town. Let's reuse your car for people who need to travel from point A to point B. That's a better use of that asset. And we think that decentralized networks in AI can do the same thing for GPUs, to make better use of these idle GPUs around the web. And another building block for all this, which you'll hear about tomorrow, is ZeroG.ai. So ZeroG is creating the first high-performance data availability layer specifically for AI, and is the first modular chain for AI as well. So Michael, the CEO, is going to deliver a fantastic presentation tomorrow, and I hope you'll all be here for that tomorrow morning. So those are some of the key trends that I'm excited about right now in Web3 and crypto, and it's what we look at Hack VC as being exciting and interesting going forward.
I think the next speaker, Chainlink, We'll be here in maybe 2-3 minutes. But last question I want to ask, you mentioned about deeping, you mentioned about AI. Those are the hot topic and the real value, where the real value are, values are. So I do want to learn the next thing will be Bitcoin ecosystem, because I think Asian builders and investors, they are really interested in Bitcoin, and this is the hottest thing. But then that's really because the early days, Bitcoin miners are, many of them, I would say like most of them are Chinese or like Asians, right? So do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, so we're at Hack VC, we're extremely bullish on the Bitcoin layer 2 ecosystem as well as Bitcoin staking. So anyone here heard of Babylon before, the Babylon chain? Excellent, yes. We're very excited about Babylon. We actually led a financing round into them recently. Babylon is breaking new ground by giving you the first opportunity to actually stake your Bitcoin in a trustless way, where you maintain custody of your Bitcoin, and you can actually earn additional yield through your Bitcoin. So Babylon, you could think of it almost like EigenLayer, but using the Bitcoin asset class rather than the Ethereum asset class. And if you look at the total addressable market for Bitcoin, it's a order of magnitude larger than the Ethereum market in terms of the amount of TVL that's potentially available for staking through Bitcoin. And right now, Bitcoin is not staked anywhere. It's generally in people's cold storage wallets. It's under lock and key. People think of their Bitcoin as a store of value. So there will be an education process needed to get folks comfortable with staking their Bitcoin. But we believe that is possible, and the evidence for that is that Ethereum used to be proof of work, and we used to have our Ethereum as proof of work, and then Ethereum shifted over to proof of stake, and people found creative, interesting things to do with their Ethereum. So we think that over time, that phenomenon will happen with Bitcoin as well. And the Bitcoin layer 2s are another extension of this vision. So with Bitcoin layer 2s, the idea behind this is, imagine if you take all these applications that are built today on Solana, on Ethereum, on Cosmos chains, and give them access to Bitcoin levels of liquidity. Imagine all that TVL in Bitcoin being available for things like DeFi, decentralized finance, for applications where you can do perpetual swaps and things like that, right? All these creative Lego building blocks that you can do with DeFi, imagine applying those to Bitcoin. That's kind of one of the interesting use cases that we think exist for BTC, and that's why that market is so hot right now. So if you kind of look, for example, one of the early Bitcoin layer 2s is the Stacks protocol. I'm sure you've heard of Stacks. They had kind of the first regulated offering for kind of a Bitcoin-based protocol back in the day. And if you look at CoinGecko, you look at the price action on that particular token, it's been pretty incredible over the last few months to see that, and I think that represents the excitement that we're seeing in the market right now for Bitcoin layer 2s, and we think it's actually well-deserved because of the market being so large and the TAM being so large for Bitcoin versus Ethereum. So the biggest challenge with Bitcoin layer 2s, we think, are two big challenges. One is custody. So Bitcoin holders generally don't want to bridge their assets to other chains because they don't want to be hacked, right? And they think of it as a long-term store of value. So addressing that in a trustless custody way we think matters. And the second thing that we think matters a lot is speed and performance. So right now, if you look at the Bitcoin blockchain, the block times are in the 20 to 30 minute range, and it's very slow. So these Bitcoin layer 2s are speeding that up and making it faster, and you need that for high frequency kinds of DeFi operations. So there's a whole ecosystem of exciting L2s right now in Bitcoin that are addressing these challenges, and we're excited about the future of those projects.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about Bitcoin ecosystem, how we look at it, and then how we think the real values are, and then what are the new solutions, really just come to Ed. He will be here, and then we can talk more about it. So thank you so much, Ed, for all those sharing. This really, really valuable. I'm pretty sure people want to watch what you just said repeatedly again and again online. So really thank you for the sharing. So now we have the next speaker ready. We're gonna just end the conversation now, and then thank you again.
Thank you for your time, everyone.